Welcome to The Resilient Responder, the podcast where we explore stories of strength, courage, and unwavering resilience in the face of life's challenges, as told by first responders. Join us now on a journey of inspiration and empowerment as we dive in with Dylan, Josh, and Patrick.
Welcome to another episode of The Resilient Responder. My name is Patrick Clark. As you can tell, we are not in a barn yet again. Are you okay?
Unbelievable. No.
So we are coming at you live from the second annual Country Roads Fire Conference in Buckhannon, West Virginia. We're also not live streamed, so this is a lot of new for all of us. We decided to do this on the windiest night probably in West Virginia's history. So we're having issues with internet connections. We're having issues with not being in the barn. We're just having all kinds of issues.
Seating
tonight.
arrangements?
Seating arrangements are on this.
We're on the wrong side of the table. Yeah.
As you could tell, though, we did bring extra guests with us at least.
Yes. You got something right.
So we don't. the good part is we don't have to talk to each other. We could talk to these fine gentlemen that decided to join us. So to my left is Blake. I'm gonna butcher your last name.
Stinnett. Yeah.
And you are with?
I'm with Next Rung.
So we got the privilege of talking beforehand, but kind of give us a rundown of what Next Rung is, how it came to life, and what the overall arching message of Next Rung.
Yeah, loaded question, but so Next Rung is a nonprofit, and basically our goal is we just want to address the mental health issues of firefighters and first responders and serve the people that we work beside. That's our overall goal, is just to make sure that we're taken care of and we get the help that we deserve. And we do that a couple of different ways. One is through peer support. We have a helpline that's available 7 days a week. It's nationwide, so no matter where firefighter or first responder might find themselves or what time it is, if they're in need, they can reach out to us through text message or a phone call if they prefer that. And then we got people on our side, a great team of about 35 people who are all active on the job or that have retired out, and they answer those phone calls. So it's a barrier breaker already. As soon as they pick up that phone to text them, they're getting somebody on the other side just like them. So that's a huge help in and of itself, because they already know that they're gonna talk to someone who understands that maybe has already experienced some of the same things that they're going through, or will be able to kind of be a solid, sound piece of advice if they're asking for it. So that's our goal, is just to kind of really help as much as we can through the peer support aspect of it. If we can kind of mitigate the issue there, that's our goal. We don't want it to have to go further, but we also know that that's not always the answer that people need. They may need further help. So our peer support providers are trained to navigate those conversations and lead it to where it needs to go. So if that means they need professional help, or the person calling in is seeking that, then what we do is we gather their information and we help find a certified counselor in their area, one that we would call culturally competent, that understands first responders or military veterans. Someone that's trauma informed is really what it boils down to, and has worked with those people in the past. Is our goal to find someone that can really handle what they're coming to them with. And even, I say that, but it doesn't really matter what they're coming to a counselor with. Trauma is always going to be an issue, whether they realize it or not. So, that's a big part for us, just to make sure that they're going to find someone and be able to get in front of a counselor who understands them. So, if they need a counselor, we find it for them. If they need financial assistance because their insurance won't cover it, or their department won't help them and they can't pay out of pocket, we provide financial assistance as well. So we will provide a certain amount of sessions through that counselor, just so that our goal is, hey, we want to get a butt in a seat in front of someone so that they can start that journey to healing. So we give them every reason to say yes and not have to say no. So that's our goal through that. If they need treatment as well, so there's the issue of treatment addiction or mental health. Sometimes that can take a person to the point where they just need to step away for 30 to 45 days, or maybe it's a week or 2 weeks, whatever it looks like for them, and whatever they can handle. Then our goal is to find them a treatment center that will bring them in and help them with the issues at hand and help them navigate through that as well. So same thing with that. We provide the financial assistance for them, and just get them hooked up with somebody that's going to take care of them. So that's our biggest thing. And the reason really why all this started is I've been impacted by the loss of someone that I worked beside in the fire service. In 2017, we lost a guy named Sam Garrison, and just an awesome guy, someone who was always cutting up, very into the job, very good at what he did. Just a great guy all around, family guy, loved his wife and kids. And I remember being on shift and getting the news that Sam had taken his life. And man, I got to spend a lot of time with Sam when I was coming through rookie school, because he would come on his off days and help out with our recruit class. And so just a super great guy. And it was the first death in the fire service I experienced. It was a suicide on top of that. And I really just kind of started asking questions and diving off into research and trying to figure out, is this an issue? Is this something that's just going on here? Is it going on everywhere? And just come to find out that really that year, that was one of the first years, or probably not the first year, but research leading to showing that we're dying to suicide. We're dying by our own hand more than we're dying due to the job and the nature of what we face. And man, that just kind of really stung, to see that this is an issue. And in our department, we lost 5 guys in 2.5 years of suicide. Just a huge, just punch to the gut, and so I just set out to make a difference with myself and my co-director, Charlie Brown. He's just a great guy as well, has his own experiences and has lost people in the fire service, so we just wanted to make a difference. So that was our goal. We started as a t-shirt company, and we became a nonprofit pretty quickly so that we could serve the people that we work beside.
And so I know you said it just started all in 2017, and was it whenever you started as just the t-shirt company, was the goal to collect the profits to be able to give to some sort of a resource similar to what you guys are offering?
Yeah, that was the goal from the beginning. I was like, well, I want to have an impact in the fire service. Like I don't like just sitting idle. You know what I mean? I always want something to do. I was like, this would be a cool way to just have some fun. But as we were looking at things, we noticed that there were some issues that we felt like weren't being taken care of. So we ended up picking mental health just due to what we had experienced. Because we wanted to make a difference there. But yeah, that was the goal originally, is we were just going to sell apparel, and we were going to take a portion of the profits, give it back to a nonprofit. And when we started doing research, we didn't find anyone that was doing that. So it was kind of one of those moments, put your money where your mouth is and step into it. So that's what we did. We filled out our nonprofit status and got cleared. We're 501c3, so right after that, we got it in December of 2017. So 2018 is kind of really when we started as a nonprofit, and we started with a helpline through, just a Google number, and we sent that out, and it was myself and Charlie who answered phone calls for about a year by ourselves until we started building the team.
So what were the biggest obstacles, especially in 2018, when you take this newly formed organization and you have to switch kind of gears from we're going to do apparel and that's it, and then we're going to give the money to somebody else, to have to change everything, and then you become the primary answer of the phone?
You become somebody else.
Charlie.
Yeah.
So what obstacles did you guys have to overcome to take that burden on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we kind of went into it blind. I mean, we've never run a nonprofit. We didn't know what that would look like. We didn't know what the response was going to be. Obviously, we knew there was an issue at hand, and we wanted to help with that. But I mean, thinking about it now, I was like, man, if I'd have known half the things that I know now, like I'd have been really nervous to push into it.
But pick like athletic boots or something for
right, yeah. I ask all the time, like, man, like, can we not have started something where we made money? But no, I mean, that was really it. I mean, our full goal was just to serve the people that we work beside. Man, I had a great conversation with Andy Starnes. I don't know if you guys know him or have had him on the show, but he would be a great person to add.
We'll get to talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah. So, man, I had one of the greatest conversations with him, and he was just open and honest with me of what to expect. And that really, it kind of set me up for success, honestly, because he was honest. He's like, hey, man, I just want you to know that when you do this, here's what to expect. He's like, there's going to be missed meals with your family. There's going to be times where you're going out and someone calls you and you're going to have to step away from those things. There's going to be sleepless nights where you're answering phone calls. Like he was just open and honest about it, and he was not wrong. You know what I mean? There are many nights, many days where I had to step away from my family. I mean, there were times where we'd be sitting down at a restaurant and I'm the only one to answer the phone call, and I knew I had to step out and go sit in the car. I mean, so there were times where I missed meals with my family, or missed out on sleep before shift, whatever that looked like, But I mean, the same with Charlie. He and I we were just in it, man. We just wanted to make a difference, and we knew that when we got the response that we did, we're like, we got to build a team because we can't handle this by ourselves for very long. So that's what we started doing is, all right, now we're here. This is what's going on. We see that, we're making a difference, so let's continue forward with it. Let's build a team. We had a board of directors being a nonprofit, but we didn't have anyone that was, specifically helping us with the peer support side.
Gotcha. How big's your team now?
We have about 35 members now.
Really? That's great.
Span all the way from, we did have one guy in Hawaii. He just moved back to the States, but Hawaii all the way to New York.
Okay.
So, we have a great board of directors. Some of those people actually serve on a peer support team. So, but yeah, we kind of run the gamut of the United States. There's people all over.
Yeah, it hits a little different when it happens at home. I think we know that firsthand as well, because when we started this venture in the beginning of 2023, and then we kind of backed off a little bit, and then when we lost a friend, I think that really changed our perspective, and even the kind of the trajectory that we were initially going for, to not only honor that, but not for that to happen again.
Right.
So if we can, be that peer support that's needed. So there's a lot of similarities in what you guys are doing and what we're starting to do here locally, and I hate it that we haven't crossed paths before now, because
hey, that's all right, man.
Sounds like we could feed off each other a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that when Dylan started this, we call it the back of a napkin idea. It was how can we change, or what impact can we make on somebody who is having a rough day? What type of an impact can we make on somebody that just ran the bad call, just ran the house fire with entrapment or whatever it may be, or how do we deal with the loss of even one of our own? And for you guys to have lost that many people in that short amount of time,
Yeah. Wow.
What was the mental setback for your department like?
They were searching for something, that was a truth. So I kind of left in the middle of that. We'd probably lost about 2 or 3 people, and then I started at a new department. But all the guys knew, they knew what Next Rung was, and they knew that if they needed help, that was the resource to go to, because the county wasn't doing anything. I didn't even know we had anything that dealt with mental health. I didn't know we had an EAP. I didn't know that we had a SISM team, and I don't know if they had a peer support team at the time, which they do now, but I didn't know any of that stuff existed, and I'd been on for 3 years at that point, and so it was just kind of mind-blowing to me that, number one, we don't know the resources that are offered, but it's not really being utilized. It's not really being effective, I guess. And so, that was cool for me, to be able to step in and play that role, through our organization, to be there to help them when there was someone in need. And we've helped countless guys from that county, which is awesome. That's where I started. That's where I got my start in the fire service, and it'll always be home, so I want to take care of those guys, and I take that, no matter where I'm at, whether it's an apartment or the community I live in, I always, want to make an impact directly there, because I'm present, along with wherever else we might be in the United States. But it was a big impact. To lose that many people is just, everyone's starting to ask questions. We're like, how do we stop this? Is this just? I don't know. I still look back at it and just wonder, what was going on, that caused that many in such a short amount of time, between retired people or, people on duty. It was a big impact for sure.
One of the things that we've always talked about on the show is, having the employee assistance program, and what that looks like. And you bring up the point that we always are consistently talking about, is the fact that people don't know.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people look at EAP as a check mark on a box, right? Like it's something that we have to have, or we've got a contract with such and such to answer the phone if there's something going on with somebody. But to really dig into EAP for the first responder level, I think looks a lot different than it does for, you know, the guy or girl that works at the bank or to drive through a Wendy's or, you know, so on and so forth. You know, when every time the bell goes off and we go out there, there's some kind of trauma associated with the response. You know, whether that be on the way to, what we see there on the way back. You know, there's so many trigger points that we've talked about in the past, you know, for first responders and that cumulative trauma to where EAP means something completely different to our industry.
But just the same as what he said, he didn't even know about it.
Right.
So what's the orientation look like? What's the education look like? Then,
exactly.
Then how much are they in orientation even checking the box and saying, hey, read through these pamphlets, or, you know, hey,
or
you know,
here's an 800
sign
number
here.
that, exactly.
And there's, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And
true.
as simple as that is, there's a lot of truth in it.
Yes.
So it's a lot of education.
And the issue, it really starts at the beginning. I mean, we probably had maybe a couple of hours in a 12-month recruit school on mental health.
Really?
Yeah, we've talked about
You know
that.
what I mean? Like that's really where, I mean, it comes down is back to the fundamentals of basics.
Yep.
Like we need to pour more time and effort into it there. But even though, you know, like you talk about the EAP, like even if you didn't know about it, or even if you did know about it, we still only got 3 sessions, and then they rip the rug right back out from under you. So it's really not even helpful. By the time you spill your guts to someone,
you're out of time.
It's time to go.
Yep, you're out of time.
And that's one of the things that we, again, one of the things that we talk about is the fact of, you know, Dylan and I have a medical background as well. And, you know, mental health and EMT or paramedic training may be a couple paragraphs, maybe on a page.
If that,
and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't prepare you for what you're going to see. It doesn't prepare you for what you're going to hear. It doesn't prepare you for what you're going to, you know, all the senses. And then whenever you do get that, and then it's kind of like, oh God, it's that shell shock moment, and you don't know if it's okay to go back to the station and sit down and have a conversation with somebody because you don't know how to address it. You don't know what to say.
So I want to switch gears just for a second because I think it's very fascinating that the conversation is going on. And I'm watching Doc here shake his head to a lot of things. So
yeah, we need to introduce him.
Exactly. And
this is Dylan's doctor.
Yeah, as of today.
I think that breaks a rule. I'm pretty sure what I'm supposed to know. So this is your chief medical officer. Your name is Kevin Junkins.
Yep.
Dr. Kevin Junkins.
Psychiatrist. Yep.
Psychiatrist. And you also have a fire background. Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I got my start. I started as a junior firefighter at the volunteer fire department way back when, and basically as soon as I could, and then I was an EMT right when I turned 18 and started working in EMS and still with the fire department, and worked my way through college working part-time in the back of an ambulance. And you know, actually we didn't talk about this before the podcast, but one of the reasons I started to distance myself, it was part of it was because I got accepted to medical school when I was going to be really busy, but there was also there was a vehicle accident that had happened that I just couldn't shake, and so I started to distance myself. You know, I'd been on several very similar to that, but for some reason this one I just couldn't shake, and it was sticking with me. And so, you know, first responder mental health has been something that I've personally been affected with, but even still, you know, to this day, as we've kind of talked here before the podcast, realizing how difficult it was for folks to find services and to access those. And it's not necessarily surprising because of a lot of the stigma around mental health, and you know, that's what we battle being a psychiatrist here in West Virginia, especially in some of our rural communities. So it sounds like you guys experience a lot of the same lack of resources and lack of, you know, the barriers that stigma that keeps people from talking about these things.
The stigma is almost so much stronger too, because in the first responder world, it's ego driven.
Well, you're supposed to be strong, right?
Yeah,
and
superhero. You got that big S on your chest. Yeah.
And it's the same way in medicine.
They don't need help.
If we start talking about our feelings and people see us as weak, you know, we don't. And by no means is someone with mental health issues weak, but that's the perception of it amongst many folks who don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And actually, it takes someone who's very strong to talk about it. It takes a lot of strength and courage to be able to do that and to seek help, because that's scary. I mean, that's really scary. That's tough. It's a lack of it's unknown what you're getting into. But absolutely, yeah. This is what you're saying. This is the Next Rung program, which sounds amazing. It sounds like you've made so much progress so far.
So there's an interesting concept and something that leads me to a question. For your organization, do you see, how do I want to word this? Do you see an average age that you start getting folks phone calls? And I'll ask you the same thing. Or, are we attacking this problem earlier in their career, or are we still dealing with the 30s, 40s, 50s? What age group do we see the most that's finally had enough? Are they coming out earlier, or are they still waiting till later till they're already?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we've had junior firefighters call in. The big part about us is we're just, kind of a third-party resource. We're not attached into any department specifically. We're just, another resource for departments to use. So we get so many different. We definitely see a lot of the volunteer aspect of it because they don't have anything in place in most departments for them. So we definitely have had our share of junior firefighters. Guys that are like 16, 17, moving into 18, where they bump up. So, but that's probably. I mean, we've only had a few of those. I would say probably 20 or under over the past few years. But I mean, really, you're still seeing guys, that are my age and in their 30s, mid 30s to mid 40s, that are seeing a lot of this as well. But we definitely get a variety of different ages. But I would say that it's still people in their 30s to early 40s, that we see the most of that are reaching out for that help.
Okay. And same for you. What age group are you primarily seeing?
Well, I see kids and adults, so it kind of varies for me. But really, I think it really depends on the culture of the environment that person's in, about their willingness to reach out. So I think it's not so much their age, but the people that surround them. So if we're talking about fire departments, it's the department culture and how they approach these things, and whether they create that culture where you can talk about this and this is something safe to talk about, or if it's a culture where you feel like, well, this isn't safe for me to talk about this because I don't know what they're going to do with this information, or I don't know, I don't want people to start thinking that they can't count on me, or that I'm not going to be cool under pressure. So
you think about what he just said too. With every department's different, and every culture at every department's different. And there's some departments, especially is like what you brought up with a junior. If a junior maybe would say something like that, they may not vote him in.
Well, yeah.
I mean, oh my God, he's a liability. You know what I mean? That's unfortunately
that's the mentality
in some places.
Yeah, and we take that stance as volunteerism is just so terrible across the U.S., but yet we, instead of taking these folks under their wing and trying to make sure that they're healthy and productive and able to own that, we would rather just kick them to the curb and wait for the next one that may or may not show up.
Brother has many definitions.
Yes. Yeah. You're not wrong.
But when you look at it from the aspect of from the junior all the way up to the senior member, do you think that do you think it's possible to break the stigma? And this is going to be more for you guys because I know your all thought on this. But is it possible to break the stigma whenever you do sign on that line, whenever you're joining that volunteer fire department, or whenever you're being brought in through the training academy or something like that? How do you break that stigma there to say, here's what you're going to deal with, here's what you're going to see, and make it to where it's not the over dramatic 7-minute video that you're going to watch during the training academy or during a training session, training night, whatever. But how do you start? Like, how do you start from the very beginning with these people to get them to understand that this is going to happen? And I'll give that one to you first, but I'm interested in both your all's answers to that.
Yeah. I'll say this, and I'm speaking on it tonight. The biggest thing to me is, I always say, man, it just takes one person to care enough, right? Like that's really what it comes down to. Is we're at a conference like this, and the entire goal is to sharpen yourself, right? To be better prepared for when you arrive on, the fire ground, and to serve the citizens in whatever community you serve in, right? And I mean, they're putting blood, sweat, and tears into it. Like, I mean, legitimately they are. Like, and they're just, just hacking away at the day, just trying to be better at the job for the people that they serve. It has to be the same way when it comes to our mental health and the people that we work beside. Are we showing up every single time to serve the people beside us and being intentional about who they are? Because when we show up for everyone else, we're prepared, or if we're not prepared enough, then we figure it out on the go, or we say, hey, we don't have the resources that we need, but we're going to get those here to you. It's got to be the same way for the mental health aspect of it as well. We have to show up with the intention of, you know what, I'm here to run calls, I'm here to serve my community, but the people that I serve beside are just as important, because if they aren't here to be able to do the job, then there's nobody to respond to the people who need us. And so we just have to make it an issue for ourselves. Like, am I actually going to care about the people that I work beside? And you said brother has a lot of different terms, right? A lot of different meanings. It's like, hey man, we got to embrace that. It has to be a true brotherhood, not just when you're at the station, not just, when you're in, and when it's convenient for you, or hey, my kid's got a fundraiser, here's a few dollars, I'll throw at that. But are you actually taking time to get to know your people? Do you know who they are? Do you know if they're married? Do you know their spouse's name, their kids' names? I mean, do you know the things that actually interest them? That's the biggest part to me, is if you actually take time to get to know someone, then you're going to know when something's not right. You might not know what it is, but you're going to be able to tell if there's just something off. But it's also one of those things that, for me, I've just learned to accept, and so do the people that I work around. Like, he's going to ask me if I'm okay. And there's going to be days where they're like, hey, man, I'm completely fine. Like, everything's great. But there's also been days where, like, man, I'm glad you asked, dude. I'm just struggling at home. This is what's been going on between me and my wife. Whatever it may be. But that's, to me, what it takes. It takes the culture within the four walls of your firehouse and saying, I'm going to go in, I'm actually going to give a crap today, and I'm going to impact the people that I serve beside.
No, I think that's really great. I mean, it's about knowing that people don't only have your back on the fire ground or accident scene, but I'm going to have your back at the station. And if this comes back to haunt you in 6 weeks, or we're having problems with this, we're going to be able to talk about it. So I think it really starts with education, right? Because there's so much misinformation or misconceptions about what mental health is and what mental health treatment looks like. I have people at this point all the time when they come in, there's no couch in my office to lay on, and I'm not smoking a cigar or whatever. But it really is normalizing and validating that these are okay things to talk about. But then also to kind of piggyback on what Blake said is when you do have that colleague that says, in medicine we say don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. So if you ask a question, how are you, and they say, it's really not going well at home, I'm struggling with the family, or struggling with the spouse, or whatever it may be, providing those resources to colleagues and to the department that, okay, this is what we do now, right? So this is out here, but so how do I help my colleague? Because if we're not providing that kind of chain of command, I guess I should say, or those resources to get that help, that's a lot. And we already talked about the small amount of training that people in fire and rescue get on mental health and addressing that. And so having those resources and knowing, as the colleague or partner, when someone says that, what do I do now? How do I react to this? And most often it's a conversation and learning more about it and encouraging them to talk about it, because I mean, goes a long way. Having, like you said, having somebody that cares and genuinely will listen and wants to know about you, but also having organizations like Next Rung, where you have that next rung of support for when it needs to go higher, or they need more intensive services, or those types of things.
And I think you both bring up a very valid point when it's the communication. One of the biggest things about fire and EMS is we preach on how important communication is. What especially on the scene of a call. Sure. Like fire ground command. I mean, it's there's a lot of structural basis around just the communication aspect of it. But it honestly seems like we're afraid to talk back at the station about sensitive stuff. Like, you come back from a call and you're like, that just, it's not sitting with me well. I can't shake that, or something like that. And it's like we kind of, we almost take a step back, and we don't know, or we don't feel comfortable with that next step or the next rung, or being able to hit that issue head on, so that it doesn't dwell, and so that we don't get to the point where
that's
we can't
one of the
shake it.
things that I feel like with the sessions and the trainings and stuff that we're going through right now is how to reinvent or how to have those conversations. And so there's a lot of steps to this. One, both of you guys talked about training and education, and we're so good at helping others. We put others ahead of ourselves, and we train to be the best, right? Because we're ego driven,
Right.
And I love that T-shirt that says that God made firefighters so cops could have heroes. And there's
throw that one in
I
there.
I did.
That's why we have no cops that watch this show. I just want everybody to know that.
But if you think in the volley world, you have, as soon as you're 16, if you have a junior department, you're out there, you're getting all your classes before, so you can 18, you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
And then what? You don't take any more classes. Yeah, as a chief, how many classes do you take?
Right.
You know what I mean? So how does it evolve into building that culture through education to be able to, hey, that call didn't sit well with me. I want you guys to think about in your fire departments, if you said that to someone, they're not going to know what the hell to say back.
Yeah.
Well, but there's another aspect of that too, especially in the volunteer world, of where, when you think about that bad call, you come back, you wash the equipment, you wash your gear, you do whatever, you go home. You maybe haven't processed that, and you're not back with those folks. If you're not a busy department,
You may not see them for
you may not
2
have
weeks.
any outlet
Yeah.
that you feel safe or confident or comfortable with. So, for the Lorax fans out there, when you said unless, and that's the first thing I think about is the one slur, unless somebody cares an awful lot. And that's what you're doing, is you care an awful lot. That's what we're doing. We care an awful lot. And obviously, you coming from the background that you did and going into that had to have an impact to be able to care for, that particular part of society that sometimes gets forgotten about because we're supposed to be the ones that handle everything else.
So I know that you're with Community Care West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So explain to me a little bit about your program and the way that it kind of falls into place with the first responder side of it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and so we ourselves are first responders. We have a care of urgent care networks. We're a federally qualified health center. So our mission is to serve people irregardless of their ability to pay, irregardless of everything. And we are well suited to provide care in rural communities to people that otherwise wouldn't have care. And so we actually started my program. It's kind of a miraculous story. We started about 5 years ago. I was straight out of school, and I found Community Care. They were looking to build a program, and I wanted to stay in West Virginia and work in West Virginia. That was important to me, and I trained here, and I wanted to be here. And we started to build this program, and we focused on schools, but we also focused on community mental health, and we slowly started to grow, and we kind of had this mantra of if we do the right thing, it'll come back to us in good ways, and if we treat people right. And we started with 2 people in the department, and now we have about 120. And so I have 6 psychiatrists, and I have about 50 therapists throughout our service area who are providing services for adults and kids. So we see members of the community, we see kids in schools, we see a little bit of everything. We see families, we do family therapy. So I initially was approached at a community dinner by a member of the Buckhannon Fire Department talking about this conference, actually, kind of saying this is something we're thinking about, this is something we want to do. And I've treated several first responders, as firefighters, paramedics, corrections officers, law enforcement. And people started to talk about, it's really hard for us to find resources. It's hard for us to find people that understand and have that flexibility with scheduling, because that's important as well. And so that's kind of where the conversation started. And it's as I learned more and more about this, and I guess it's just another project. We always want to look at, how can we really help the community? How can we be innovative? We were really gung-ho about helping physicians and nurses and folks during COVID, but one of the groups, in hindsight, now that I think about it, one of the groups we didn't really talk about necessarily was like fire and EMS, right? We were all really gung-ho to help the folks that were in the hospital, nurses and physicians, and we kept saying the first responders, but it was more so we were really talking about the physicians and nurses.
They were the second responders.
Yeah,
Still
right.
frontline work.
The frontline
They
workers,
weren't
yeah.
they weren't the ones going in with a mask into somebody's home and
Right.
picking them up, right?
Yeah.
And then being in a small enclosed box for how long with someone who may be really sick and may kill them. So it's really interesting, and I am very happy to be meeting with you guys today, because I think this could be kind of the start of something.
Absolutely.
You live
Yeah.
close enough to the barn. We could have you back.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd love to come see the
Well,
barn. I've heard so
fine,
much
yeah.
about the barn. I feel like I need to.
You can come too. But
It's
I
a
mean,
long drive. It's about 8 hours.
I need to come.
Right now, Atlanta's probably way warmer than it is here, or
Yeah.
wherever you are in Georgia. So it's
Pretty cool, yeah. Still pretty cool.
So one of the things that we talked about before, whenever one of the pathways that you plan to go down is, right now you're pretty fire and EMS driven.
Yeah.
And you were talking, you've had a few dispatchers that have come on.
Right.
Where do you see the next steps for Next Run? Where do you guys see
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big picture guy anyway. I'm terrible with details, so I have to surround myself with people who are better with that. But, the goal is really, it's just trying to, you're just always outrunning finances, really. I mean, that's the nature of the game, I guess, as a nonprofit. But we always say, we're just 1 or 2 donors away from being able to make a bigger difference. But, the goal overall would be to really impact every branch of, the first responder service into nurses as well. My wife is a nurse, and so that's something that's, near and dear to my heart as well. But really, we would love to see that. We'd love to have, a helpline for, fire, EMS, law enforcement, first, dispatchers, whoever it needs to be, nurses. I mean, if we could have a helpline for each one and just kind of set up the same way that we've done it so far, that would be the overall goal, and just be able to have a sole resource for them specifically, depending on, where they serve. But that would be our goal, is just to take what we have and expand it and make it even better.
Patrick, are you able to put his helpline up on this?
We're gonna actually, we're gonna put all of the links to the website, Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram, and a helpline. We'll put that all in the description
Perfect.
of the video. So it'll be on YouTube and on Facebook. We'll make sure that we put all the stuff in there, and then we'll tag your page in it.
Awesome.
That way you guys can see. They are on. They're on Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram,
And is it the Next Rung or just Next Rung?
Next Rung.
Next Rung.
Next Rung. Yeah.
And then Community Care also, I know, has a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then, do you guys have in the first responder realm? Is there a call line for you guys, or?
Not yet,
Not
but,
yet.
but this is got the
We're
wheels
going to
turning.
start
yeah.
working on it. We're going to
That's
start
right.
working on it,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right. That's-
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
my
that's-
wheels are turning too, because especially when you said you're all over the place. So, Bridgeport is your main area, but I know you also said Elkins and Buckhannon. So,
I believe you guys have a shop in Philadelphia. I think. Right
No,
there
we're
by
not
the
in
house.
Barber County.
Okay.
We're in Upshur, Randolph, Lewis, Pocahontas, Clay, Braxton, Harrison, and Montegalia.
okay.
Kind of up and down the
Which is
city.
really still some places.
But we see
that are
people
busy.
from. I mean, we
Yeah.
see people from all over the place within the state that come and get services, and the more I'm sitting here, I'm just loving this concept of like a first responder program and
Yeah.
and some groups.
I think
potentially.
we've got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's really. Yeah.
It's needed, man. It really
It
is.
is. It is. Huh?
I knew it. A lot more to talk about. Yeah, you do.
Wow.
He meant for the professional
Oh,
development side,
wow.
from the business standpoint.
Wow.
You'd had your glasses on.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so just for you guys and for our audience, so we all Josh and I rode down together today. Dylan's been down here playing volley for Mr. David Buckhannon.
Hey, that's all right. They want me to go on some
and,
calls. I'll go on some calls. I love it.
So we all show up here. Dylan gets out of his car. He looks very astute. He's got his glasses on. He looks all professional. He comes over to my truck and banging on the window. He goes, "Hey, there's a room in here for me?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, get the hell out of here. Come on, let's go." And Josh and I get in his car. Josh will not. He is on him like every 30 seconds. He's like, "Man, The glasses make you look smart. Don't take them off. Dylan's is getting
I hate you.
that Italian is getting redder and redder and redder. Finally, he's just like, I'm not wearing the glasses. And Josh and I are like, oh no, you're going. As you can tell, he won battle though. So one of the things that is amazing is that about 6 months ago, I was telling Blake, about 6 months ago, we got in connection with First Responder Coaching, who is exactly what you guys are. They're a coaching service. They help people get the help that they need. They assist people in be it one-on-one counseling, and it could be for a wide based issues. It can be, financial, marriage, anything like that. And it's more of a coaching session. We have the privilege of going through that coaching class now. But one of the things that is impressive to me is the fact that you highlighted an issue within you said a 42 square mile city is where you started out initially?
Well, yeah, that's where I've been.
The original department.
The original department is a lot bigger. We had a little over 1,000 firefighters, and I'm not sure. I can't remember how big. I mean, it's a huge suburb outside of Atlanta. They're probably close to. When I was there, we probably had around 800,000 citizens.
Wow.
So one of the things that is, and I think that this is what the audience and us need to hear sometimes is, you're one person.
Right.
You went through a multitude of tragic events that involved your specific department. Mm-hmm. You lost friends. You lost brothers, and I know that that is going to be the next topic probably that we go into at a later date is, defining what a brotherhood is. But you lost brothers that you either came up through with training or somebody that was close to you, and you took it upon yourself with the help of Charlie to grow this vast system that you pick up the phone, you dial one number, and you can talk to somebody. And you've grown it to where it is now. Are you in all 50 states? Is that?
We don't have a representative in all 50 states, but I guess the beauty of what we do is we don't necessarily have to be. Right, yeah. Right. So they can call from wherever they're at or text from wherever they're at.
The beauty of Facebook and the internet.
Yeah, man.
Brother.
Yeah. Technology is helpful.
But you identified this huge gap in the system, and it's great to sit down with like-minded people because when you started this, when me, you, and Josh had our first initial conversation about scars, it was the fact of how do we keep from happening what is already happening. Right. We all come into this behind the 8 ball, and it took a kick in the butt for us.
It did.
Whenever we lost someone that was near and dear to all three of us.
Yeah.
And much like what happened to you, what is your and I know you're not done growing. I know that's
hopefully.
Right. As long as you don't outrun the finances.
That's it.
But what is your overarching? What's your message for somebody who's out there right now who needs that help? What's your message for them?
I mean, if you need help, it's just. It's not a secret anymore. Like, we can look at the statistics. Like, we can look at across the board. Like, even if there were no statistics, I'm not a big stats guy. Like, I know that we need them and they serve a purpose, but the truth is, whether we have statistics or not, like, we can look into what is going on and we see people taking their own lives. Whether that was one person per year or whether it's 100, like, that still means people are needing help. And if that person's struggling, likely someone else is. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a secret anymore that what we do is a struggle in a sense of, man, it impacts our lives, it impacts us, it impacts our families. So, I mean, the biggest part is just know that you got resources out there that actually care about you. If you don't have it in your own firehouse or with your own department, break outside those 4 walls. I promise that the brotherhood isn't dead. You just have to reach outside and actually find it, and you will, because that's the biggest thing is, man, there are people out there who care about you. That's why Next Rung was started, so that we can show people that we care. Like, we're not just telling you, hey, we need help, right? Because that was our biggest thing at first. Is like, all right, what do we do now? Like, anybody can tell someone that they need help, but we want to provide a resource that actually does that. So, it's just kind of being self-taught, I guess, and that's kind of where we have to go with this, I think, because departments are so bad at teaching us about what we need for mental health. But I see so many people willing to go to conferences and to train and to put hours and hours into that. This is going to have to be the same way. Like, how much do you care about the person beside you? How much do you care about yourself? And that's just the biggest part is know that you do have people that care about you. And that's what I always tell people. I might have never met you before, but I care about you. I want to know your story. I want to have a conversation with you, and so does everyone else that is a part of our organization, so that we can serve you and give you the help that you deserve, right? I mean, that's the biggest part of it to me is we deserve help. What we're doing is selfless. It's a selfless act, and we're not looking for an award for it, or at least most of us aren't, but we have to know that it is an issue. We can't hide from it. I mean, the statistics are shown like 85% of first responders have some sort of mental health crisis, whether it's small or whether it's large.
Yes.
And that's a big statistic, right? So if you're sitting in a room of 100 people, close to what we are now, 85 of those people are going to have some sort of mental health incidents.
Yes.
Like that's a big thing to
Absolutely
me.
insane.
So just know that you are worth the help.
But it's not just the job either.
No, and that's a topic in and of itself. The job doesn't help. We know that the trauma is an issue, whether we realize it yet or not. Like, it does impact us, but I would say a majority of what we see is not just from the job. It's marital issues, it's financial issues, it's addiction. I mean, there's a number of things that are in there. It's even what you're pre-exposed to before you come into the service, right? What did it look like growing up? I mean, there's so many different things that Doc over here could tell us so much more about than I can, but I do. It's just there's so much that is behind the why of how we respond the way that we do to the things that we're exposed to.
What about you? What's your message? And especially local here in West Virginia. You know, we have viewers in, last time I checked, there was 9 states, I believe,
Awesome.
and 2 countries. 3 countries if you include North America, which I probably should, seeing how that's where we are. But you know,
We don't count.
You know, West Virginia is our largest amount of viewers, and with your program being directly in the state, what is your message? How do we get that in front line and center of these people and say, here it is?
Yeah, and I really, thanks for the opportunity, and I just thank you for inviting me today. This has been great. My message would be this is okay to talk about. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a moral failing. It's not, it's not something that makes you weak or is because you're weak. And it's a complex interplay of factors. Like you said, even events in your childhood could, we have this concept of resiliency, and there's so many things that go into resiliency, and that's why one traumatic event affects one person differently than it affects another person. It's our life experiences and the support that we have after the fact, right? And so for those in the first responders that are struggling, know there's help out there. There's non-judgmental help, and it's okay to talk about that. And certainly we at Community Care are more than happy to help, and certainly see a lot of first responders, but there are wonderful organizations all throughout the state and all throughout the country that are there to help. And if in the event of we have the national helpline now, and we have suicide text lines, so there's always someone. Next Rung, there's 24/7. There's always someone who will listen.
Yep.
So when suicide seems like the only answer or it's the only solution, there's always another solution. That's to reach out, and there's always someone that cares and will listen to you. It's just sometimes making that call or text, but knowing those resources are there for folks.
So how do we get in touch with you? How's it?
Yeah, so we're on social media. We have a website. You can just check out Next Rung on Facebook or Instagram. But if you want to specifically reach out to us, we have a peer support email that you can reach out to. You can reach out to the helpline. We've even had people just check us out. Like, hey, I'm just texting in, just want to see if it actually worked. So, but you can reach out to us. It's 833-698-7864. So you can just text the word help, and you're going to get somebody to respond with you pretty quickly. We do tell people that we're all on the job. So there are times that, the people that are working that day or who are on call, they might actually be responding to calls as well, but we're really quick at getting back to people. The teams are always working and just checking with each other to see, hey man, you got it, you need me to get it. So, but you're gonna get someone just like you, and who's gonna be able to walk with you through whatever you're facing, no matter what it is, whether it's on the job or off the job related.
What about you? How do we get in touch with Community Care?
So our website, ccwv.org, has the contact information for all of our different offices. And you can call any community care office to set an appointment up. We don't require a referral from a physician, so you can self-refer, and we'll find the right provider for you in your neck of the woods.
Very good.
Do you guys have anything to add? Any questions you guys have?
No, not at the moment. I think this has been great. I know people are starting to trickle in now, and I know you speak tonight, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so...
We're actually going to take some snippets. We're probably going to take some video.
Awesome.
I'm excited over that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to be my first TikTok.
Oh, man.
If it kills me,
I haven't done TikTok. I need to hop on there too, man.
Hey, listen, it's in our first responder coaching class last night, we were talking about how many people think that TikTok is the most
Is a mainstream media source.
the most mainstream media
Yeah.
source of any media
Crazy.
source now. And it's
Crazy.
like,
Yeah, I seen that on TikTok.
Did you? Yeah, popped up today.
Must
didn't
be
it?
true.
Heck yeah,
I heard you talking about it. Yeah,
That's
popped
exactly
out.
what it was.
That's what it was.
Hey, TikTok's responsible for about 50% of my business.
Hey,
You know,
there you
we'll
go.
Keep it going. I saw that on TikTok. I have that.
Love it.
well, on behalf of Scars Incorporated, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of The Resilient Responder, hosted by Scars Incorporated and sponsored by First Responder Coaching. Blake and Dr. Junkins, thank you guys for joining us today.
Yes,
we
wonderful.
we will have another guest speaker tomorrow. We're going to have Andy Starnes
I
on.
believe so, yes.
He's retired from Charlotte
Yes.
Fire.
Yep.
From not the airport, from
No.
Charlotte, the
Right.
Charlotte Fire. Okay.
Right.
I was confused.
I'm
over
sure there's more than one Charlotte out there.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
So we'll be bringing him on to dive into another interesting topic, and we hope to have you guys back sometime. By all means, anytime that we reach out, we might be desperate for somebody, or we might just need to pick your brain because there's probably something that you're doing that's flawless that we could probably do a little bit better on in
Absolutely.
the sense of it.
Always something to learn.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks again for joining in.
Thank you for joining us for another empowering episode of The Resilient Responder, brought to you by First Responder Coaching. If you found strength in our stories, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Connect with us on Facebook at Scars Inc. and catch exclusive content on our YouTube channel at Scars FR Services. Remember, your resilience is a beacon of hope. Keep rising, stay resilient, and until next time, take care of yourself and each other.